Hey everybody, Mature Simmer here. So, we are back in Euro Truck. As always, we are looking at 3 jobs here from Ostroveca. And obviously, again, sticking with what I think I shared in the last episode is, unless there's a reason not to, because I just really don't want to go somewhere, the logical thing is take the first job, the best paying job. So we will do that. We'll continue the story I was telling you in the last episode. So let's jump in here and head to Lublin.
Time to get the job rerouting.
Alright, just doing a quick walk around here. DB Schenker, Scania truck, one of my favorites in Euro Truck. So it's Scania in Euro Truck and Freightliner in ATS. Those are my 2 favorite trucks. Alright, so I'm trying really hard to remember this part. So we're going to go ahead here. Now, we are going to have an issue, because you saw it for a second. We have a break in the map here that we discovered last time. The only way I can do that is to teleport the truck. I don't know that I see any other problems other places. Obviously we'll be looking for that, but we'll see. But yeah, people wanted to know where we were going. So we're leaving Ostrovka, then we're going to go to Ostrov Mazowiecka, and it's really Mazowiecka. It's probably not Wiecka. There's no CZ there. Then we've got the roadway we're going to deal with, and I'll probably just skip both in one skip because there's no point in jumping on, driving for a second like I did, and then go. And then we're going by this giant facility here with Amazon and LKW and Globus and BAM and a repair center. Kind of going between Warsaw and Siedlce, and then going to Lublin. So that is what we're doing. Now let's get ourselves in gear, and let's get out of here. So 262 kilometers. Does this truck have some stuff? Let's see, it has a GPS, so we can get rid of this. We haven't had that in a bit, but let's see. Speed. It's probably not a bad one to have, but yeah, it doesn't look like we've got a trip meter that we can easily see here, so. Alright, which way, which way?
Turn left.
Turn left, alright. So, it's telling us 14 minutes in real time. So we'll see.
Take the 3rd exit.
But yeah, what it doesn't show me is in game time when we get there, so I don't know that this will get us to sunrise and if we'll be driving in the daytime finally for a bit here or not.
Exit now.
Alright. So obviously we're heading back out here. We're getting all the way down to the town. We'll get ourselves up to 70. So I think in this segment we're okay. It's just heading out once we get to the next roadway is when we have the problem. Now, it'll be interesting to see what this looks like on the map, because we're going to have a potential problem. Like, once I'm drawn, is it going to show solid and then I wouldn't know there's a break? Because in the future, like, I don't know that I'll always remember. And hopefully the only problem we're ever going to have is right here, and hey, we may never come back here. But, yeah. So, yeah, what I don't know is how it's going to appear, but basically once we get to this interchange, we then run into the problem.
Turn right.
So I had been sharing the story last episode about, kind of that I always like to look and learn as much as I can about sims I'm doing. So, I had gotten led to this SpedV thing, which I tried, which basically was trying to recreate LTL loads, but they were doing it in a way, so we can see the gaps, so that is good. Because I was worried that would have vanished. So we'll kind of get ourselves nearby here. Because if we can discover this, last piece, like that would be awesome. Alright. So you can see the break in the roadway behind us. We are now through. We'll get this off. So now we can see it. So I determined SpedV wouldn't work. But in the course of looking for things and, the Truckee Hardcore mode and stuff, I came across something called Truckee Dispatcher. And the Dispatcher, what it does is it basically lets you create loads yourself. Or there is, I haven't researched it quite enough, but I've seen that people put loads out there. And I don't know if that's just for VTCs or other things, if we could just grab someone's load and take it for them. But there's basically a load board, like a dispatcher would look at. And, so I looked at that, but Truckee is Trucky. And so in searching for videos for Truckee Dispatcher, I just started getting videos for Truck Dispatcher or Truck Dispatch in real life. Which again, I know of. It's not a job I've ever done. But then I started seeing some videos about, hey, do this job at home and make good money and this, that, and whatever. And I'm always willing to look and explore options, and I found a gentleman who had like a 2-part series to train you on how to do it from home and what you need to do. And he mentioned in the beginning like that he started doing it when he had another job and was basically dispatching while he was working at another job for a little bit, but then after a couple months when he realized, okay, I can do okay at this, he quit to do dispatching full-time, and
Exit right.
he turned it into something else. That's neither here nor there, but it led me down this path of, hey, could I explore this? At this point, it doesn't look extremely viable. Sadly, it looks like one of those, I don't know that I would say schemes, but I think it's one of those things like, obviously the videos he made, he was really excited and, oh, this is wonderful. But in looking him up and trying to understand, because one of the things was, he said he found all his clients, which would be carriers, which would be drivers, trucking companies, or truckers, because, if you're just an individual trucker, you might be willing to pay a dispatcher to find you loads so that you can just focus on driving and whatever. And that was kind of the business he seemed to have, but he said that he found all his clients via social media, via basically a Facebook page. So as I got intrigued about this, I was like, well, let me go look and find his Facebook page. And in searching for this, I found both his Facebook page and the website for the company that he said he had. All of them are now non-existent and gone. The URL's available on the Facebook page and so forth. So, again, knowing, with business skills that I have and so forth, I'm like, yeah, this is not a good sign. Clearly, this person's not doing this anymore, even though he said this was just the greatest thing ever. So maybe he had success for a brief time, and so once again, I need to learn more before I would say, oh, I'm going to jump at this, because, yeah, I could have the same experience he did, which might be, ooh, I'm successful for a little bit, and then everything dries up, and then I'm suddenly unemployed and, you know, having to figure out what I do. And I'm not wanting to do that for various reasons. So we could just kind of leave it at that. But yeah, that's the story. There's not much more to it other than just, if we continue to talk about it, think about it, whatever, over time. Because yeah, in the end, the skill sets needed to be successful, from what I learned from him, because he had basically about 3 hours of videos that kind of trained you how to do this. And so most of the things, like I knew about load boards. I didn't understand, hey, just go sign up for them, and he covered how to talk to the brokers. But in the end, you need trucks that you want to find loads for, which he referred to as clients. And so you need truckers that want you to work for them, and then you basically take a percentage of whatever the load is. So his recommendation was 8%. It was the going rate, but he said some will do as low as 5%, because he talked about, like, he had grown his operation to the point where he had dispatchers
and then turn right.
Working for him, and
turn right.
And he would pay them 5%, but he would be charging the carrier 8%. So he'd basically be making 3% for, as he put it, not doing anything. It was, in essence, passive income at that. That is some lighting, man. Could you imagine trying to sleep near this? It is, after all, I guess I'm not seeing the time up here. Oh, no, it's 3:29 a.m. So, yeah, that would be crazy. But, so he was talking about, like, a typical truck would carry $20,000 in a month. That would be what the truck would make. And then you taking 8% of that basically would be getting $1,600 a month off a truck if you were doing all the dispatching for that truck for the month. I was a little worried. I saw the line. I'm like, is that just a tiny gap in the road? But no, it was not. And so he talked about running 9-10 trucks at any given time, that he could do that. And that, yeah, it was a little bit challenging, but he was able to get that high at some point. And so, you do the math. I mean, you could be making $16,000 a month if you're doing that, which is pretty good. I mean, that'd be about $200,000 a year. So, and you're just sitting at home on the computer and the internet looking at load boards and, using your phone, and that would be the business. I mean, it's like, hey, it's worth looking into. But like I said, I definitely got a little concerned, given that he appears to have vanished. And the video I found was a year old, and in the video, he kind of had recorded a new intro and said, yes, the video you're going to see is my training I did 2 years ago. So really, it was 3 years ago that he did the videos I watched. So, maybe he just, he started working as a dispatcher for a company again or something, or is doing something totally different. But what may have happened, and seemed more likely, is, he kept talking about how some brokers won't work with trucking companies that don't have like 6 months, 12 months in business, because they just don't like that risk of someone new. And he felt, probably as I would too, that it's not entirely accurate that, well, okay, they've been in business for a year, so I can trust that they are good and they'll deliver my load on time and whatever. Like, any company could still be a bad company. They just likely won't survive for a terribly long time. But so he was using an example of that he was, in the video he was doing, he was trying to find a load for a client that had been in business for 2 months, and that the broker he was looking at didn't care about that, so that, you know, part of what he was doing in his training was, like, if you have a broker that you know requires a year, they're not going to budge on those things if they have those requirements. So calling them to discuss a load that they have is pointless if the truck you're trying to book for doesn't meet their requirement, because there's no way to get around it. They're going to refuse, and you're not going to get the load. So, so then you just don't bother calling, you just continue looking for other loads. So that was the example in the training he was giving. But the fact that he brought that up is, I believe the clients he was probably finding were new companies or individual owner-operators who were like, yeah, I'll hire you to do my dispatch. And then those trucking companies didn't survive. And, you know, a more established company that is bigger and has a bigger fleet is likely going to have their own in-house dispatchers, so they wouldn't use somebody like him, and therefore someone like me, if I was doing that myself. And so I think his potential customer list dried up. Like, he found 9 or 10 trucks that he could book for and felt, ooh, this is great, you know, I figured this out, and this is going to be a job I can do forever. And then maybe he found out that wasn't true, because yes, just like any business, it was, how do I find customers? And in this case, it's, you need to get a truck to agree, yep, I want you to be my dispatcher, and, you know, sign the agreement with them that, you know, any loads you send them, whatever, you know, you're getting 8%. You know, and I think the way it seemed like it worked is, obviously, like, the broker would be paying you for the delivery, so then you just withhold the 8% and then you pay the trucking company the remainder. So it's not like you're waiting for them to send you their 8%. That's, he didn't really explain that in anything that I saw, but that's what seemed to be the way that it would make sense. Because the load board was telling you, hey, they were going to pay you $1,000 for this load, and then they're paying you because you're the only one they're talking to. They're not talking to your carrier. So the payment would come to you, but then the payment also, a lot of these look like they don't pay for 30 days. So, you know, you're operating on a net 30 situation, and yeah, so there could be a lot of reasons that it was challenging. But, alright, well, we got rain again. Not unexpected. Oop. Alright, we've discovered Lublin, so we're already here, which is great.
Keep left, and then turn left.
But yeah, so that was the little rabbit hole that I had gone down. And, you know, I'm potentially still going down it. You know, I only found the couple things, and I think now I understand how it works. So what I may look for is to see if I find any other material on people who are doing it. Because really what I was looking for, and the reason I was looking for his Facebook page, is I'm like, all right, well, I know how to set up, you know, I'm tech savvy, I can set up a page. And of course his thing was, you know, you need to get yourself out there, and, you know, there's no point in doing anything on any load boards, whatever, until you know you have some clients, because until you have a truck to tender a load for, you know, you don't, you're not going to grab a load because you could never fulfill it. Like, his whole point was don't grab a load and then go looking for a truck to deliver it. Like, your model always needs to be, I have a truck that I need to fill, and I need to find a load for the truck. Totally made sense. And, you know, and the way he did things and some of the ways he was doing it, it seemed like he had put a good deal of thought into it. So I don't think he had trouble, because he was a poor business person. He did, I think, you know, everything he did made sense to me. This is interesting. We're literally, like, going over this little... Okay. But yeah, this is what we need to do. That is interesting.
turn left.
I don't know how normal something like this would be in your now turn left. No, I guess across the speed bump, because that's just the truck sitting there. But yeah, we're gonna go here. So yeah, I may do some more research, and who knows, one of these days you may be surprised, like, hey, I'm actually dispatching real trucks. But it's probably unlikely. I mean, I would not do something like that just on a whim. Wow. Not sure how I want to do this. I think we're going to turn around. Okay, that is, as I thought, a bit of a ramp. But yeah, I can't, it would be blindside, but see how far these pallets stick out? So what I really need is yeah, come in here, and then we'll actually use the entrance to get ourselves, give ourselves enough room, and then we'll go in from there. So let's see if we can do this. And again, if I can do these deliveries more in cab, I'll certainly try to do that, because I think that's more challenging for me, which makes it a little bit more interesting. But I'm sure it's also, from a realism and immersion standpoint, a bit more interesting for you. Like, hey, I'm, you know, watching trucking instead of I'm watching a video game entirely. I mean, we know you were watching a video game. We're not going to pretend that you're stupid in some way, that I'm somehow fooling you entirely. And, oh yes, I'm driving my real truck here, and green lines are showing up on the ground and all, but you know how it goes. Alright, so we're gonna assume again that my landing gear is on that side. It is. So we'll deliver. I'm assuming again it's just, oh, it was 90, so it was a little more difficult to deliver, but we have crossed the 4,000 threshold. We're officially a quarter of the way in this series to our first skill point. So I think this is episode, I don't know what it is, but it's more than 10. So it likely will mean we're going to need, I mean, I think we were estimating that we need like 160 loads, but I don't think that's accurate. I mean, because at this point, if I've done 10, I think it was 160 loads to like save up enough for a truck, is I think what I was kind of trying to figure out, because I'm basically making a few $100s each time, and that's it. And so to get 30,000, so that might be accurate, because again, you need to remember we started at 2,500, so like the profit of 2,367. That's the only money I've made in all these loads. I've made barely $2,400. You know, and at this point we're into day 6, so it's our first load in day 6. So this does not count the number of deliveries, which is unfortunate. I think that would be kind of cool. And I'm doing my best to kind of make sure that I'm linking things together. So I think I am, and in this series, yes, I think I had already decided. So yes, this whole series, I didn't jump around. It was an ATS that I started this Extreme Edition journey. Okay, so we did, you know, that must have been that beep I heard. We must have gotten flagged for speeding again. You know, we've paid $100 in penalties, which is why we're not at 367, we're at 267. So yeah, maybe it was 2,000 euros that we started with, and then I think 1,500 that we start with in ATS. But either way, I think this gets us to a point where now we'll be switching over to ATS after this episode. So we've had our 4 ETS things, and now we'll be going back to ATS for a few days, and then we'll join back up here and continue on. Always interesting, enjoying this a lot. Hopefully you are as well. If you haven't liked or subscribed yet, please consider that. It's extremely important and really appreciated by me. And I will see you next time.